Are we good, Jeannie? Mine says that we are streaming live. I don't know, her internet may have dropped. Yeah. Are you back, Jeannie?
Oh, I just double.
Yeah, she's breaking out, but I can see on my Zoom that we are live on YouTube. So Brian, I think we're good. Sorry for the technical difficulties. I think we're good to get going.
Yeah. We're being recorded. I guess that's good. Okay. All right. Then since it is after 6 p.m., we will call to order the meeting of the Priest River Old Town Sub-Area Committee. And this is January 13th, 2021. Our normal agenda has a Pledge of Allegiance, but due to the fact that we are not in person, and I don't think it's appropriate without a flag to do so, unless somebody feels differently. Okay, I'm going to take silence as acceptance. So, Amanda, if Jeannie's not able to do so, can you perform the roll call?
Yeah, absolutely. Jeannie, unless you're there, but I'm going to get started.
Or Jenna can, either way.
Okay.
She's actually the admin for this, so.
Yes, I keep forgetting. I'm sorry. Thank you.
That's okay.
All right, I'm just going to go first names just to get it going here. So I have Brian.
Present.
Vice Chair Krista.
Present.
Mel.
Here.
Geraldine.
Here.
Teresa.
Present.
Doug. Not sure if my computer cut out or not for Doug. Did anyone else hear?
He's not here.
He's not here. Okay. I have Carl. See, I don't think he's here. Sherry and Susan. So it looks like those two are absent as well.
All right, thanks.
Oh, sorry. Could you confirm how many people we have present?
We have 5 here, Brian, including yourself. Teresa, Geraldine, Krista, and Mel are on the line.
Okay, so we have a quorum.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. Can someone please move to accept the meeting minutes of the Wednesday, October 28th, 2020 meeting?
I accept. Mel?
I'll second. Krista?
Thank you. Any discussion? Does anyone have any corrections or additions to the minutes?
No, I think you made that one correction way back, Brian, didn't you?
Oh, right, about the public participation.
Right.
Okay. If there's no additional discussion, then all in favor of accepting the Wednesday, October 28th, 2020 committee meeting minutes, please say aye.
Here. Aye. Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
So,
Okay, the meeting minutes have been accepted.
Brian, I have another attendee by phone. I just want to verify who that is real quick, if you don't mind.
Yes, ma'am. Please do.
Whose phone number is 208?
Yeah, this is Carl.
Oh, hi, Carl.
Hi. Sorry, I got here as quick as I could.
Is it Carl?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Welcome, Carl. Do the staff have any announcements?
Nope, not really.
Okay. Well, if everyone will allow me, I would like to make two statements. The first statement under the announcements that I would like to make is to formally and publicly thank the staff, specifically the efforts that Amanda, Jeannie, and Jenna have made on a regular basis to help facilitate our meetings, answer our questions, and do a lot of work in the background on our behalf. So I know we're not done yet, but given the sunsetting of this committee in the near future, I just want to take the opportunity to thank all of you for those efforts.
You're here.
Thank you so much, Brian. That means a lot. I know I really appreciate it. So I feel super thankful to have been picked to work with the committees. I know you didn't ask for my commentary, but I love Bonner County. It's really important to me. And so, you know, I personally want to do anything I can to make sure that these sub-area plans go through. So thank you for that. I appreciate it.
Yeah, we appreciate
Thank you.
your guys' commitment. Yeah, thank you. The other statement I'd like to make, and please understand that this is not directed at the staff, but I feel compelled to make a formal public statement to our committee and to Bonner County Commissioners and the Planning and Zoning Commission. I find the decision of the Planning and Zoning Commission to what I consider abruptly sunset the activity of the committees to be ill-advised and inappropriate, especially for those committees who have had significantly less time to complete their work. I also find it rather concerning that during the breadth of over 4 years of which the various committees have been formed and working, that I'm not aware of any significant efforts that the Planning and Zoning Commission have themselves taken to help safeguard our community against these issues for which they have formed the sub-area committees. I think it would have been very prudent of them to have taken some strides and actually made some modifications to the current comprehensive plan, even if those were rather brief and were to have a sunset date associated with making changes based on the sub-area committees. But I think they have had significant opportunity to help safeguard us, and they have chosen not to do so. I find that very concerning. So I just, as we're trying to put forward our best foot and efforts to bring things to conclusion with very limited time, I just felt it necessary to express my concern over their actions.
I'd just like to say that I think you're being very polite, Brian. Very well worded. Not sure I would.
Thank you.
I'm not sure I would be as politically correct.
I'm extremely concerned. And I, as a part of that comment, one of my concerns and frustrations at the moment is because those safeguards have not been put in place and those actions have not been taken. You know, for example, I'm going to have far more limited bandwidth to assist with our current efforts over the coming weeks because I need to now spend time trying to respond to what I consider to be a very inappropriate application for a comprehensive plan amendment for a 160-acre plot here in our sub area in the Hoosier Valley, where a developer wishes to rezone Ag and Forest 20 down to Rural 5 and turn it into what I consider to be a higher density subdivision.
Yep.
And so now we have to go to battle to try and prevent that poor decision from being approved, that poor request. And I'm very concerned about the potential outcome of that. And so I think that can become a litmus test for some of the efforts we have ahead of us to be sure that whatever work we're able to conclude in the remaining time we have can address those types of issues for the future, even though it can't help us with this particular issue.
Brian, it's Jerry Lynn, and I totally agree. I worked so hard for the ag piece of this, and so it's one more piece of ag going away.
I have a little bit of a
Can you guys all please identify yourself before you speak so I know who I'm listening to?
Sure. Okay, Mel, this is Krista. Brian, I have a concern also that I find it concerning or disconcerting that the timing of our sunsetting and the timing of the application for the rezone in our area seems a little hinky on the surface.
Yeah, and I certainly don't know. The only thing I do know is that this one developer, and there are many, he is in the process of developing numerous properties in our area, in our sub area. So I think it's an ongoing effort, business effort on his part, which I understand. But I believe that the rationale he's using and attempting to use for these zone changes completely contradicts the intent of the current comprehensive plan and very much contradicts the intent that our committee has expressed throughout its 2 years of meetings and development of the language that we have drafted.
Hey, Brian, can you hear me? Hello?
Yes.
Can you guys hear me? So, let me just jump in real quick. This is Melton. I appreciate your comments, but you're making an assumption that a decision has already been made by staff, and it has not. We have not made a recommendation yet to the board or to the planning commission on this project. So you're just assuming that there's going to be a recommendation for approval or that the PNC is just going to approve this. You got to give us some time to put together our staff report and get a recommendation made. So, I think you're premature in your comments, and you're not being fair because staff really hasn't produced a report yet. There's been no indication that staff is in favor of this project.
Milton, I agree that what you're saying is technically correct, but I am expressing my concern based on years of prior experience with how the Planning and Zoning Commission tends to view and choose to act on these requests.
Yeah, this one's different though. This one's different than the other ones. It just really is. We spent a lot of time reviewing this with staff, and we're hoping that we get back some good comments from the agencies that help us justify, our positions and different things. So, again,
I'm very glad to hear that. And again, no, and I'm not, like as I indicated at the beginning, this is not directed at staff, but I have sat in on a number of hearings for these types of requests in the past. I know everyone is different and unique, but I believe that the lack of action for the majority of the efforts of the Planning and Zoning Commission over the last number of years has emboldened these developers to continue pursuing these actions, and I find it concerning.
Yep, that's a fair statement. Okay.
But I agree with you. No decision has been made at this time, but I am concerned about the potential outcome based on the application.
Yep, I got it.
But thank you for clarifying. So under our action items, strategize, plan, completion. I'd like to just present that for discussion. I believe there are two primary objectives that we have remaining, and we'd certainly appreciate additional information and clarification, from staff if there's something that I'm missing. But it seems to me that the language we've already drafted for the different sections, we need to go back and finalize, because we highlighted a lot of things that were not complete. And we acknowledged through that process, as I recall, that without wordsmithing some of that language still troubling, and providing definitions for certain terms, that the intent of our language could be misunderstood or misused. And so I think it's really critical that we bring that draft language to closure. And then the second piece would be, of course, drafting whatever language we can also bring to closure as a committee with regard to the land use portion of the comprehensive plan, since that is, as my understanding, that is the piece that is most important toward helping to the future drafting of actual policy and codes. Is that Milton and staff? Is that an accurate representation?
Yeah, absolutely, Brian. If we walk away doing anything in the next 3 months, it's going to be producing goals and policies under the land use chapter. I don't want to jump in too much because I'm sure folks have a lot of comments about this, but I've really been mulling over how I am going to help the sub areas reach some sort of finish line in the next 3 months, because Priest Lake is in a similar boat. They started a few weeks, I think, before or after you guys, so within the same month. So one of the most interesting things that I've learned about comprehensive planning is that the regulatory portions of the comp plan are the goals and policies. And I don't want to keep dragging this proposed amendment and zone change through the mud, but as soon as I caught wind of this proposal, the first thing I did was dig it up, find out if it was true that it was in the Edgemere Bay area, which I knew is beautiful farmland, and look to see what was in our comprehensive plan that supports this farming community. And I was really, I'm just going to say it, I was really sad to read our agricultural component of our current comp plan. There are no goals and policies within that comp plan to necessarily trigger or identify something like this from coming through. Now, there are other chapters that may address it, but specifically in the agricultural chapter, I was really disappointed. And I was even more disappointed with the land use chapter, which is what guides land use in all of Bonner County. So again, I don't want to take up too much of everyone's time, but I think after looking through this proposal in your sub area, a very grave proposal, it became apparent to me very quickly what we need to focus on, especially in the Priest River area. So I just want to throw it out there that we focus on some really tough and drill down on some really tough goals and policies, at least in the land use chapter, and then really make sure that our agricultural chapter and natural resource chapter has similar goals and policies. I think that the plans going to the P&Z sort of, I don't want to say half done, but not quite complete with full analysis. We need to be able to tell the P&Z through those goals and policies how they need to draft these land use designations to protect what's important to folks in their community. So I just wanted to throw that out there. Okay, I'm sorry if I overstepped. I just want to throw that out there.
That's very good closing. I agree.
Okay, thanks.
That seems like sound advice.
Okay.
Yep.
And I do agree with Brian that we need to clean up the language in the chapters we do have, because they're really amazing chapters and they're easily adoptable the way that they are, because they come with the analysis and the information from, folks that live in Priest River and Old Town to make it complete. So if we can clean up the document and then drill down on goals and policies for the most important I call them the pillars of land use for each of the sub areas. I really think we need to identify what the most important planning issues are in your area. And one of them to me is just protecting the ag land that exists, and then the open ground and the river valleys that persist in the area. There's some really unique features in Priest River that don't exist in other places. So.
Yeah, agree again. Very good. Very good.
So from a limited time and phasing perspective, what do we think would be better to start with? Attempting to draft the goals and policies around the land use chapter, or finalize the language of what we've already drafted for the other chapters, and then conclude our time with the land use goals and policies. It's sounding like the land use goals and policies may be the highest priority as far as potential value for the future.
Yeah, I don't know if you're directing your question at me, Brian, but I think that we need to come up with a land use chapter. And yeah, so I think focusing on that. And then I do believe we can make quick work of the editing of the remaining chapters, because a lot of the verbiage issues we had were in the analysis portions. Not to discredit some of the ones that were in the policies and goals, but I think that if we just focus on the goals and policies, if we run out of time for the editing, even that would be sufficient, because that's where the true regulatory pieces come in. So yeah, if I had to prioritize land use and then fixing verbiage of all other goals and policies in the other chapters, and then lastly, if we're really down to the line wire, it's fixing verbiage in the analysis or the body of each chapter, if that makes sense.
It does. So a clarifying question from an enforcement perspective, it sounds like the goals and policies are have the highest value or weight. Does the other portions, does the rest of the supporting language, does that really have no direct bearing on you were mentioning this this example that I brought up of the 160 acre rezone comp plan amendment? Does that mean that if there's not language specifically in the goals and policy section, but it's just in the body of the remainder of the chapters, that cannot be used to render a decision?
Yeah, I think Milton can maybe speak to this more, but the way that I understand it and the way that our code is laid out and state statute, we don't really dig around in the analysis of the comprehensive plans, because those analyses in the body of the comp plans are used to justify specific goals and policies that should become regulatory. So there are a lot of just sentences, if taken out of context, could be used for any purpose in any direction, whether you're someone requesting a zone change or you're someone who lives next to it and you want to stop it. So the real focus and intent in Idaho code is to use those goals and those policies as the regulatory items to guide land use in any community in Idaho. So yes, they have the force of law and guidance in what we do. So.
Okay, so then it's really, I guess from a legal perspective, everything else beyond the goals and policies then is really just proving due diligence to support the goals and policies.
Correct, absolutely. That's exactly what it is.
Okay, thank you for clarifying. Then it would be my suggestion to our committee that we, as Amanda suggested, focus primarily or initially on establishing goals and policies for land use, and then performing any final editing required for the goals and policies we've already written for other chapters, and then if time remains to do final editing on the remainder of the body of the text that we've drafted.
I
I
agree.
agree,
Does-
Brian.
Yeah, I agree.
Does anyone have a different suggestion? Okay. I think then the other question would be, at our current pace, we would have the regular meeting at the end of this month, and then 2 more meetings before the sunset date. Is that correct?
Yes, but a lot of the groups are doing a meeting every other week, so it comes out to be about twice a month. So I don't know if your group would like to do something similar, where staff will accommodate whatever your group wants to do. So we're available 100% to do as much as we can.
Appreciated. Yeah, that was the question I was leading to.
This is Sherry Lynn. I would say that we need to probably work harder to protect this valley. So every 2 weeks would be fine with me.
I
Yeah, it's
agree.
fine. Yeah, it's fine with me too.
Awesome.
Fine with me.
And the
Okay,
oth-
I'm sorry, my internet dropped. I didn't hear what the decision on that was.
Jeannie, they'd like to do every 2 weeks.
You want to do,
2 weeks from now, and then the second Wednesday of the month, the fourth Wednesday of the month, if that works for staff.
Yeah, I think it will. Jeannie's dropping out, but hopefully she gets this in blurbs. I believe that keeping it the second Wednesday of the month and the fourth Wednesday of the month at 6 p.m. we're totally open.
Okay,
So-
and at some point, you guys, at some point, we may be able to use the new meeting room at the library towards the very end to be in person. I'm gonna have to keep you updated on that every couple of weeks. Right now, we're closed to move into the new part, but we're under construction. It's just muddled right now as to, you know, what's available there and that kind of thing. But we may in March be able to do that.
Yeah, this is Jenna. I think one of Jeannie's, probably one of her questions she was going to ask is if you were wanting to meet in person for every 2 weeks or if you want to just do Zoom like we are now.
This is Mel. I'd like to do Zoom.
I'm good with Zoom for right now. This is Krista.
Me.
Okay.
This is Sherry Lynn. Zoom's okay for now.
Sounds good.
So I'm definitely still good to meet at the Edgemere Grange. So we had planned to have our meeting at the Edgemere Grange at the end of, or in 2 weeks, 2 Wednesdays from now. So
Right.
I'm absolutely still willing to meet folks that live out there for sure.
Oh, yeah, we would still like it. And we can all, I know Susan and I.
Yeah, definitely, Geraldine, especially with the internet connection. So I'll just keep that open.
Yeah,
I'll-
plan on that one for sure.
Okay,
And then I'll let you know as soon as I know a little bit more. We've got the room, and we have the chairs and we have the tables. We may be missing we won't have a screen up yet, I don't think, but we do have a blank wall, which
oh,
might,
perfect. Yep,
So
and we got a
we don't-
project,
yeah, and the projector would have to be on a cart of
perfect,
some kind. So we'd have to just sort of like muck it through a little bit, but we might be able to do that in March.
perfect. That would be awesome.
so we would have to know that before an agenda for that particular meeting went out. The
Yes.
agendas go out a week ahead, so as long as we know it a week ahead, we're good.
No, you'll know it well before then. I have to figure out where I'm putting everything in the next, or we're putting everything, I should say, in the next like 10 days to 2 weeks. Then I'll know a little bit more. So
All right,
we'll know well in advance.
Awesome, thanks, Krista. That's really good news. So what we'll do is we'll just keep meeting at the Edgemere Grange until we can get our spot back at the library. So
Right.
staff will plan to be out in the Bay Area in 2 weeks at 6 o'clock for anyone that can make it.
Mhm.
Then we'll go from
And I will have the fire going and keeping you nice and warm.
It sounds awesome. Thank you.
So then it sounds like the best thing we could do in preparation for that meeting would be to come with proposed goals and policies language to review together to be able to build a first draft of that during the meeting.
Which would be good. I'd love to see what some of that kind of looks like in a sub area kind of thing. I poked around in some of the other ones the other day and I really didn't see anything, you know, I don't know. I guess I'd just like to see some kind of an example of decent examples of things that might apply to our sub area. Has anybody got any ideas?
Yeah, that's a good comment, Krista. So some of the earlier plans that groups worked on were very different than some of the plans I've been working with your group and then with Priest River. I'm sorry, with Priest Lake. So with Priest Lake, we're really trying to drill down the main land use issues right now. And what we decided to do was categorize in the form of some main goals some of the issues in the area that need to be addressed in a land use map and in a land use capacity. And it really helped us drill down just what the main topics were that we need to get over to the P&Z to consider. And so I'll just give you a few examples of what we did, and maybe this will help illustrate how we can do it for Priest River. So up at Priest Lake, water quality is really important. And so they have some lands that are turning over from public to private, private ownership. So one of their specific goals was to create land use designations that deal with the transfer of public lands to private ownership. So that was a goal, is, not a little bit more eloquently put, but just basically how to handle lands coming into private ownership. Within that goal, we created policies that will help guide the Planning and Zoning Commission and the Board of County Commissioners to draft an ordinance that may address those lands coming in. So what to do with them with density, from a density perspective, what to do if they front waterfront and if buffers are needed. And so we just picked categories like that. Their area obviously abuts the lower or the northern part of your area. So we also created land use goals for agriculture and open timber ground. So just guidelines for protecting those, and when it is not appropriate to convert those over to higher density uses. So I'm thinking for Priest River, some really good goals we'd have is how to protect the farm ground that is in the Bay and Edgemere area. That would be an easy goal we could construct, and then we would have guiding policies to sort of guide policymakers into how to draft a zoning ordinance to protect those things. So it would sort of outline what they need to do. I think that we talked a lot about commercial development around Priest River way early on, maybe last year. And so I would personally like a refresher on that. I think we need some goals and policies for where it's appropriate to have businesses in the future, because we don't have any clear guidelines for that right now. So those are two examples of things that I think are goals for your area. It would be dealing with commercial activities, density in farming communities and around ag ground. And then we need to pick a place for where it is appropriate to have higher density, or where it would be appropriate to have growth. And higher density growth in rural areas, to me, is where is it appropriate to have 5-acre lots? Definitely not across farm ground. So where could that go? Would it be abutting the cities? Are there places it's already occurring? So those are some of the things that are on my mind that I want to work through with the group so that we can create those guiding goals and policies when it's time to draft an updated ordinance for the Priest River area. I don't know if that helps. Hopefully that wasn't too much.
No, that does help. So a couple of things. One, could we maybe get a peek at some of their wording because they on here, we've got two different kinds of areas, maybe three in fact, the commercial kind of area between Newport between Priest River and Old Town. We've got the Bay Edgemere agricultural area that Geraldine and Susan and you guys out there are so intimate with. We've got the area where Carl and Mel and I are, that is more off of 57 and along the river up here that's just south of the Priest Lake thing. For me, I'd love to see what the Priest Lake thing said about the water and the timber and the density stuff.
Yeah,
If they've got something. And the other would be one of the things that flows, literally flows, no pun intended, from there to here to Priest River is the river quality. The water quality on the, and protecting that on the river, which we did do a lot of work on in the environmental chapter.
Yeah, we have some really good goals and policies on that. Yeah, if it's okay, I can share my screen, or I don't know if folks had planned on a shorter meeting tonight. I can just zip out a copy of the draft I sent to Priest River a couple of days ago for you guys to kind of paw through and see if anything grabs your attention. So either way.
If you could please send that out, I would also value, I think for our committee, because of our sub-area geographic location with shared boundaries and some similar geographic features and so forth with the Southwest Bonner County Committee. Yeah. I think the Priest Lake and Southwest Bonner, we share so many boundaries with them and so many similar landforms that it would be helpful to see what goals and policies they have for both of those, to see where we believe we could share language and where we think we need to intentionally diverge.
Yeah, you bet. So Southwest Bonner County's draft is on the web. They've finished and submitted it to the P&Z a couple months ago. So what I'll do is I will put a link in an email to everybody. I do want to make a note that their plan is a little bit different than all the other plans. And the reason for that is because they decided to conduct a survey across, their entire boundary to all the landowners in the area in order to guide their document. So what they did is their analysis is an analysis of the results they received from that survey. And then they created a land use chapter off of that. So it's kind of an interesting document because they did end up drawing a full map and they have full land use designation.
Can we do that?
What's that?
This is Mel. Can we do that here? Do we have time?
We won't have time.
Yeah, that's the issue. So the map is nice. The only thing I'm finding with the map is there are some pitfalls with the groups. When we create a map, folks think that maps are static, and we're finding out this amendment and zone change is a really good example of how folks can come in and request a change to the map. So what really counts is the descriptions of the designations on the map. So if time allows, and let's say we edit the full document and we blow through these goals and policies, if time allows, I would be an advocate of drafting some really important land use designations for key areas to get the P&Z started on that. And I also just want to say that even after the document is submitted, this is still information that the group can work on, and there's going to be multiple workshops with the P&Z. So even though we won't be formally meeting as a group, if we can get started on this process and create those descriptions, I think that it will make their job easier and they will accept that. So just keep in mind that even though we're ending this at the March 31st date and they want to see those plans and they want to work with the plans, that they're going to continue to have workshops with each of the groups. So anyway, if we could get that process started with those land use designations, that would be pretty powerful work as well. I don't know if we will, but I just want to throw that out there.
That sounds like a very good approach to me.
Me too.
Go ahead. I have a question.
So,
sure.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Mel.
When the county commissioners take over the comprehensive plan on a certain date and new committees are formed in order to continue on the process, do we have any jurisdiction over it to be a part of it? Or can we be excommunicated from it?
Yeah, good question. So the commissioners are not creating new committees. What the P&Z Commission is doing is they want they want all the plans to be submitted by March 31st so that they can start to compile the entire comp plan. So they are taking that job on themselves because they are the ones that have been delegated that job per state statute. So what they're going to be doing, instead of having the committees continue to work on this independently, is have workshops with each of your groups to continue on with that process so that they can start their process with the main comprehensive plan. I think this past year really showed us how inadequate our comp plan was, and we really struggled to have appropriate regulations with the guidance in the comprehensive plan. And with the growth we've seen, it's time to crank it up and get these documents done. So that is the direction they have given staff, as they really want to update the whole comp plan. And in order to do that, they need the direction from all the sub-area plans. So I hope that's a long roundabout way of answering your question while also adding, but no, there will not be new committees. And yes, you can still remain involved even after we're not meeting once a month.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yep.
So Mel, we will have the same final decision-making authority we've always had, which is none. Sorry, small joke. All we get to do is propose stuff. It's a starting point.
We all got to remember something. We all came here with an agenda. So, very important.
Yeah, I won't pursue that discussion, but so it sounds like we have outlined the process we'd like to follow. We have determined our remaining meeting schedule before the sunset date that the commission has established. So are there any other items from a planning perspective or a strategy perspective that we need to discuss before we conclude this meeting tonight?
Well, I think I just kind of want to add to my homework list. So I know we talked about me sending out a draft of the Priest Lake, or sharing Priest Lake's draft. In addition to that, I don't know if the group's okay with this, but I would kind of like to start the process of getting together a draft for your area. A lot of it will be a guessing game on my part, so you'll have to be patient with me on what I think is the most important out there. My hope is that it will open up the conversation and get us started, and then the group can keep building on the things that I think might be pillars of land use issues in the area that need to be addressed. So if it's okay with the group, I'd also like to send out a draft for your area of a lot of assumptions, I guess, because I'm not 100% sure. But
I think that's great. Thank you, Amanda.
Okay. Thanks, guys. I don't want to step over. I don't know if anyone else wants to start that process, but I'd like to get it rolling, since we'll be meeting in 2 weeks. We're moving really quickly through this stuff. So
yeah, and Amanda, you and I can talk.
The more we have, the better.
If you need to, just throw some stuff out, just call me or email me or whatever. I can help you with stuff too.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. I will definitely actually take you up on that. So yeah, thanks.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I think we as a committee have been pretty good at being willing to have open discussion and either accept, reject, or modify proposed language from any committee member or staff member. So it seems helpful to have a starting point for the group to begin to modify.
Awesome. Yeah, I would agree.
Okay, does anybody have any other items before we conclude this meeting?
I just have a question. Geraldine, Susan never showed up at your house, did she?
No, she didn't.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, then would someone like to move to adjourn the meeting?
This is Jerry Lynn, and I move to adjourn the meeting.
I'll second it. This is Krista.
Okay. All in favor of adjourning this meeting, please say aye.
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 All opposed? All right, it is 6:48 by my clock, and that adjourns this meeting. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.
All right,
Aye.
thanks, guys.
Thank you.